Hey, this is Meridith Elliott Powell, and welcome to Sales Logic, the show where we dive into the strategies, we touch on the steps, we give you everything you need to know to be more effective at sales and to well sell logically. And I'm here with my co-host, Mark Hunter.
Hey, thank you, Meredith. Great to be doing another episode with you today.
I'm excited about it. So we got a little bit of a last minute topic change. So I just wanted to let people know because I promoted something this week that we're going to save as a teaser for next week. Because I'm a little discombobulated today. I actually just came in from my first live event. Yes, I was actually speaking in front of people. So my co-host today, Mark Hunter, is kind of saving me by taking over with the topic and the lightning round in the book. So Mark, why don't you tell everybody basically how the show works and what we're going to focus on today?
You see, what we strive for is bait and switch, because that's what we just did to all of you watching live. We tease you with something, we switch. No, it's okay. It's okay. Hey, the topic we're going to talk about, very relevant to 2020, this period we're in right now. How do you motivate yourself when nothing is going right? Well, that's going to be the topic we're going to jump into, and who is not going to disagree on that one when it comes to 2020. We've got a lightning round. We're going to talk about some motivation tips you can use. We're going to introduce a book that we suggest you read. We also got a question from a listener. Now, let me tell you how this works, because this is really kind of cool. What you do is you jump out to saleslogicpodcast.com, type in your question, and you may be the question that you may be the person we talk about in next week's episode. Now, if you don't want to jump out to Sales Logic Podcast, that's okay. Just throw it out on social media, just with the hashtag Sales Logic. We'll find it. We'll get it. So we've got kind of a great question, but Meredith, does this sound like an okay topic today?
It sounds like a great topic. I'll tell you, I was just thinking today, I just got off the phone with a friend of ours, as I was driving back here from Charlotte. That was kind of a big topic with her. And an informal poll that I just did with some of my clients, motivation. Now that COVID's been around for 8 or 9 months, everybody's looking for some ways to, how am I going to get myself through the winter months? So I think it sounds like a great topic.
I'll tell you what, because what we thought was going to be like a 30, 60 day, maybe 90. Man, it's sure going on month after month. So, hey, let's jump into it. But before we do the topic, let's jump into the question. And the question is kind of relevant. And it comes from a person in Switzerland who did not want to leave. Well, they left their name, but they said, please don't use it. Anyway, you'll kind of get a drift why. Here's the question. I know what I need to do, but I can't get motivated when I see my competitors getting all of the business. It leaves me discouraged and wanting to give up. The question, should I? Whoa.
That's heavy, Mark.
Heavy. Jump in, Meredith.
Yeah, well, the first thing I'm going to say is that you need to get your focus off yourself. If you want to stay motivated, you really need to be focused on other people. So back in the day, I was a competitive swimmer. And one of the first things that my coach told me was that when you're going down the lane, you need to look every once in a while to see where your competitor is, but only once going down the lane and once going back. Because if you focus too much on your competitor, it'll take all your time, it'll take all your energy, and at the end of the day, it'll slow you down. So stop focusing on your competitor.
I like that. I like your swim coach, because we have to define success. We can't allow others to define success for us. And I find this so easy. What you need to do is you need to just ask yourself this question. What am I going to do today that will make me better than yesterday? If every day you can just take a step forward, that in and of itself is a success. Don't worry. I love it. I love the fact that she says, hey, her competitors are getting all the business. Now, I don't know if that means a lot of business or just some business, but that means there's business out there. Yeah. So that means all I need to do is I need to be thinking differently about how I approach, and focus on what I can do and the success and the outcomes I create.
Yeah.
Never give up. Drives me nuts.
in essence, what you're talking about is progress. And I do think so often we think that motivation is about landing a deal or getting a goal, but really it's about progress. And what are you doing to make progress? Now, one of my greatest tips for motivation, and the first thing that I would say to our question person today, is that when I was a kid, my mother used to tell me that the fastest way to get off my own problems is to focus on somebody else's. And I say to everybody in the middle of this pandemic, it is not about you. And you really need to understand this. This isn't about your sales goals, your quota, or even your business. If you could just turn around and really focus on your customers. The irony of that is the more you focus on yourself, the more demotivated you will become. The more you focus on others, it's like an endorphin that hits us when we focus on what we can do to help other people. So if you want to help other people, focus on them and turn your attention outward.
Because there's something magical that happens when you do focus on somebody else and you're able to share with them some advice. You know what I've always found is when I'm coaching, when I'm doing my coaching sessions with people, it's almost as if I'm coaching myself.
Yeah.
Because the advice, the ideas, the strategies we're talking about, they apply to me just as much. And I think that's really, we help ourselves when we help other people. But when we get down in the hole, when we get down on ourselves, it's hard for us to see anything but our own misery.
Yeah. Another great tip for it is, if you're really struggling, go out and surround yourself with some people who are both successful and supportive. I say both of those things, successful and supportive, because what you're going to find if people who are having success in today's marketplace, it's not rocket science. It's not anything you can't do. It's not anything you can't achieve. So you need to see the pattern and see what people are doing. And then you just need to apply it to yourself. Just being around this weekend, I was lucky enough to have a colleague of both Mark and I was in town visiting, and I got to go to breakfast and have breakfast with him for a couple of hours. And I came away from that meeting so energized, so enthused, so ready to go back and hit the pavement, just because he's a positive person, he's a motivated person, and his energy really, got into me and infused me with the energy that I needed to keep going.
Well, it's one of the reasons we like doing things together. You and I. It's one of the reasons we have a mastermind group, because we all feed off each other. And you know what? That's a perfect segue into our topic, because the topic today is, how do you motivate yourself when nothing is going right?
Yeah.
And I think that's certainly the case. Surround yourself. Jim Rohn said the line, you become the sum of the 5 people you associate with the most. Well, who do you want to be associating with? I think you want to be, just like you said, supportive, successful people.
Oh, so true. I mean, you kind of want to be the loser in the bunch, right? You want to surround yourself with 4 or 5 people that are far more successful than you are. I mean, that's how I feel about our mastermind. I always feel like, what the heck am I doing here? But I'm thrilled to be there, because the brains and the intelligence and the motivation that I'm surrounded with take me and take my business to another level. But first thing I think you need to do understand when nothing is working and how do you motivate yourself is a military term that I learned when I was writing my new book called Embrace the Suck. And you've got to realize that you got to embrace your reality. And sometimes things are just tough. Mark, before I started doing what I do now, I was a banker. And one of the things about being a banker is I would look over people's tax returns for numbers of years, whether it be 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. And you could see that any business that was successful in today's marketplace has had bad times. So we don't say, what do you do to motivate yourself when times are good? Because we expect times to be good. But if we expect times to be good, you got to understand that times are going to be bad. So put your fingernails on the rail, grip down, and hold on, because things will change.
Well, that's so true, because we're all getting right now an MBA in business right now, because this year that we're in is teaching us so many things as to what we can do to be successful. Before we hit record and we went live, we were talking about this very thing, how many mistakes we're making, it's funny, you say you're in this group that I always thought I was the one who was bringing up the rear. So, I mean, I look to you and the others in the group as being incredibly brilliant, but that's the key thing.
That's what you want.
Always hang out with smart people. But here's something, because again, I have watched people hang out with smart people, and it almost makes them feel inferior and they fall off. And I say this, here's what you want to do. And this is an old Zig Ziglar comment. Is an old Zig Ziglar trait. You take a piece of paper and you just write down all of the things that you're thankful for. And when you start writing them and get detailed, it is amazing how, I don't care how bad things might be going for you, there is an incredible amount of positivity that's going on all around you. And then you do the same thing with your customers. I always tell this, this is an exercise. Anytime I'm in front of a group, I always say, take a piece of paper, write down your customers on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side, write down all of the outcomes that you've helped them achieve. And when you get done, you give yourself a big hug and you go, I'm beautiful. I'm fantastic. Hug yourself because you're making an impact.
Yeah, I think, oh God, I think that's so important. We don't take enough time to celebrate the wins, the things that you have done. That is such great advice. I hope that everybody listening, and Mark, this is a hot topic because I'm getting a lot of comments in the chat over here, but that is such a great piece of advice Mark just gave you, is go back, look at the last year, look who you've helped, look who you've touched, and celebrate some of those wins. Really go back and reflect on that. The other thing is that as much fun as it is to sit around and feel sorry for ourselves, get a big bowl of ice cream, sit on the couch and just binge watch something, at the end of the day, the problem with being a victim is it's the end of your story. It's all you're ever going to be. After you just burned 24 hours feeling sorry for yourself, you're still in the same position. So rather than do that, I always suggest to people, do a brain dump. Put out all the things that you're worried about, mad about, frustrated, angry about, everything out on the table. And then once you look at that list, divide it into what you can control and what you can't control. And what you'll see is there is very little that you can control. But the difference between people who stay motivated and energized is they're very clear on what they can control and they focus their time and their energy there. And that's one of the greatest ways to motivate yourself.
I heard two examples as to how to get the out of your mind. What you do is you write it on a piece of paper and you tape it to a rock. And you throw the rock into a lake, and it's just kind of this whole thing that you're taking this thing that you're worrying about, you don't need to be worrying about, you shouldn't be worrying about, and you just throw it in a lake, or you tape it to a piece of wood and you put it in a fire. But the whole thing is this whole piece that you're getting rid of it. You know what's interesting is when you're a victim, it sucks a tremendous amount of energy out of you. It just sucks the life out of you. And when you're pumped, when things are going well, it's amazing how much more adrenaline, how much more motivated you are. There's a technique that I tell people to do, and I very highly recommend it. At the end of every day, take a piece of paper and write down what was the biggest success you had. Now, you may have had a lousy day, but you know what? That cup of coffee you had was awesome. Or maybe you had one phone call that went right. Or the Sales Logic podcast that you listened to was awesome. You write that down as that was your best thing. That's what you do. But you always end the day by writing down the most successful thing that you had that day. And then what you do is you write down what's one outcome that you intend to achieve tomorrow. Because many times what happens is victims are victims because they're not setting themselves up to win. And if you're having a hard time winning, then you set yourself an easy goal. Your easy goal might be, you're just going to get out of bed before 7 a.m. That's okay. If that's the easy goal, you're going to look to achieve a goal early in the morning. And it's amazing what that begins to do to you. It begins to change you.
Yeah, I think that, what we're back to is really about really making progress, is the sense that progress is like a domino. It's like a snowball. It builds on itself. And you may not get instant gratification, but if you, instead of calling Mark and whining and complaining about the fact that I don't have any business, if I would just pick up a customer and call them and check in with them, the chances are that customer is going to lead me to another prospect, is going to lead me to a customer, is going to lead me to business. The one thing I know is, as much fun as it is to call Mark and complain, one, he wouldn't let me do it. And the second is it's not progress. And so to really celebrate that progress that you're making, and you're going to see yourself really start to get motivated. It's kind of like if you go on a diet and decide to get in shape, you don't get in shape overnight, but after a couple of weeks, you start to see what all that exercise and eating right has gotten for you. It's the exact same way in this marketplace.
So you don't want me to share with the audience all the times that you've called and dumped on me? No. That's no. I normally call and dump on you, but
I seriously, no, I mean, I'm not kidding, audience. Mark would not let me do that. He'd tell me that's why I'm friends with him. He'd tell me in a flat second to pick myself up, dust myself off, and go back at it. And that's what you need if you are going to stay motivated. Don't surround yourself with people who listen to you whine. Surround yourself with people who will give you a good shake and say, get back out there.
No, I would really say, we got to go to line 2, Lisa in Biloxi.
That's right.
That's what we do. Yeah, because here's the whole thing. Nobody can motivate you. This is, again, what I hate is victims always feel, well, there's nobody to motivate me. Nobody can motivate you. You are the only one that can motivate yourself. Absolutely. And it really has to be you making the fundamental decision that this is what I'm going to do. And don't try. I had somebody call me the other day, and this was funny. Well, don't you ever compare yourself to Grant Cardone? No, I don't. No, I don't. I don't. Because I'm not going to spend my life comparing myself to other people who I really have no desire to be, no desire to achieve. No. He has his lane, I have my lane. You see, this is the whole thing. We have to be comfortable in the old Dove soap commercial, comfortable in your own skin. And that means you write your own chapter in your book. Don't allow others to write it for you. You write your chapter, and each day it's just taking that step forward. And here's the whole thing. If you end the day having influenced and impacted somebody else in a positive manner, congratulations. You went through life that day very well. Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Well, that sounds like a good segue to what book do you have us focused on?
Well, hey, I've got a book here by our friend, Stephen Shapiro, Invisible Solutions. Now, you and I have both known Stephen for a number of years. This guy, I love this guy because he's incredibly smart, and he would even say it, he's incredibly lazy. Yeah. And what that means is he's incredibly efficient. But he wrote this book, and it's 25 lenses. And what I like about the book is it has you looking at challenges differently. In fact, it's funny. Just the other day, I picked it up again. I was skimming through it because, again, I read it when it first came out. I made some notes. And it's like, ooh, there's an interesting lens. There's an interesting perspective. And it's helping me. This book is helping me look at different challenges, different things differently.
I love that book. I got it right when Stephen put it out. And then I think he's starting a podcast pretty soon on it too, which people need to follow that podcast. But really, every organization, dealing with challenges right now, and we all are. Stephen is such an innovative, such a different approach to not only show you how to look at those challenges, but also I loved the concept of lenses and just a different way of looking at things. Makes you feel empowered and makes you feel in charge. Gosh, that was such a great recommendation this week. And I'd read it when it first came out, but I need to go back and revisit it. And I want to make sure to subscribe to his podcast because I think that's going to be great as well. Yeah.
And what I like about it, it's not something that distracts you to the shiny object because it's lenses. Right. It just gets you to filter and look at what you're already looking at differently. Hey, so with that, let's keep moving. Let's move to the lightning round. Ways to motivate yourself. Are you ready? Let's start the clock. Meridith, go.
Number 1, set aside 30 minutes every day for education. Just something you want to learn and invest in yourself, because educating yourself, knowledge is power. It builds confidence, and confidence will build motivation.
I love that. Hey, number 2, make a list of everything that you're thankful for. And I'll tell you what, come back and add one new thing to it every day.
Number 3, really have a plan and a strategy for how you're going to start your day. Too often, if you sit in front of the computer and you're a little bit confused about what to do first or what to focus your energy on, you'll start to slip into overwhelm. So before you go to bed at night, write down 3 things you're going to do first thing when you get up in the morning. Make one of those reaching out and talking with a customer, because talking with customers will motivate you.
And I'm going to add to that, set yourself a goal that you can achieve by 9 a.m. There's just something magical about achieving a goal and being able to move forward from that.
Yeah. Focus on behaviors, not results. So set down the things that you're going to do from a behavior perspective. Don't make the goal landing a new customer. Make a goal making 5 sales calls. Don't make the goal, selling a product. Make the goal that you are going to have 6 customer conversations. Focus on the behavior, not the result.
I'm going to say, watch what you put into your mind. That means get rid of AM talk radio. That means get rid of some of these websites that you're looking at. Get rid of that stuff, because all that's doing is putting into your mind, especially right now, negative ideas, negative concepts. You don't have time to think negatively.
No, you don't. Manage your energy, not your time. And what I mean by that is we all have a finite amount of energy, but you can build energy. So for example, if you've got to do a task where you've got to, for me, I don't ever really like doing my accounting, but if I've got to do my accounting, I'll set myself right up for that to maybe go for a mountain bike ride. I think you need to give yourself more leeway in the middle of the day to allow yourself to go for a walk, to stop and read a book, to go to lunch and binge watch one of your favorite shows. But what builds energy back into you, and understand that, because that's going to give you more motivation to do the tasks that need to be done. So understand what motivates you, and then allow yourself some of those things during the day.
Wow, you stole one from me. So I'm gonna frame it up a little bit differently. I call it the on-off switch. You have the on switch where you're working, and the off switch where you shut it down. You do not dwell on it. You walk away from it. If you're in a work from home situation, you're working until X time, and then you shut it down and you walk away. You shut the door in that room, whatever it is. But you turn off work, move your mind to a completely different mindset. Now, Meridith can go for a mountain bike ride. Where I live, can't do that, but that's okay.
I would say that you need to start your day right. Whatever works for you. I tend to meditate every single morning, and I read my vision for my life and my business. But you need to really calibrate your mind correctly first thing in the morning. So whatever works for you, whether that's meditation, sitting quietly, getting a little exercise, maybe it's prayer, it doesn't matter. It's a personal thing. But whatever sets your mind and gives you that quiet space first thing in the morning, that time for you, that's going to give you more bandwidth for the rest of the day.
And I'll say, look at your long-term goals. Don't get focused short-term. It's so easy to become demotivated when you look at what we have to get done now. Look at your 5-year goals, your 10-year goals, your 25-year goals, because it's amazing how things change.
Divide your day into quick fixes and long-term goals to kind of go with what Mark said. I'm working on a book right now, and that is something that is not going to be finished by the end of the week. It's not even going to be done by the end of the month. So I'll give myself some things I can scratch off my to-do list, because I find that very motivating. And I balance that with more of my long-term projects. Getting too caught in long-term projects will make you feel like you're not moving forward. So give yourself some quick fixes and get a little high from scratching something off your to-do list.
And with that, I'll close it out by giving you the best suggestion. Continue to listen to the Sales Logic podcast with your co-hosts, Mark Hunter and Meridith Elliott Powell. So, hey, thank you for listening to Sales Logic this week. If you like what you hear, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. If something we've said has earned you a single dollar, consider telling a friend about our show. It's how we grow to help you grow. I'm Mark Hunter.
And I'm Meridith Elliott Powell.
Remember, when you sell with confidence and integrity,
uncertainty suddenly becomes your competitive advantage.
And the sale becomes logical.
All right. We'll see you next week.